Hey guys, welcome to another video on the channel, another analysis chess video, and I hope you have a great time watching this game. And if you enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel. It's totally free and helps us a lot to achieve our goals, which at the moment is to arrive to those magic 1,000 subscribers. Give us a thumbs up and leave your commentary below. Tell us where you're watching from. It's always nice to see where you're coming from. So today, for the agenda, I brought a very interesting game which will appeal especially to those of you who enjoy playing the Grand Prix attack. And if you don't know what the Grand Prix attack is, maybe by watching this video, you'll bring it into your repertoire and start scoring some good wins with this very dangerous attack with white. Playing with white pieces, Jacek Gdanski from Poland, a veteran grandmaster, very strong player, peaked at 2570, 2580, so one of the better Polish players from the past, as he's a veteran player from the, he's probably 53, 54 now, represented Poland many times in the Olympic team. And with black, a very young and upcoming promising female player, Valcu, I hope I pronounced it correctly, from Sweden. She's rated 2137, which is quite strong. This is more or less woman FIDE master level. She doesn't have the woman FIDE master title, so maybe she hasn't requested it, or she's going for the woman international master title first. So we'll see how she gets there. And she came very well prepared for the opening, as you'll see, but at some point lost track of the way to go. For sure, an important learning experience for her. Let's go with the game. So Gdanski plays e4, opening with his classical e4 repertoire, c5. We don't know which Sicilian Valcu is going to play, but Gdanski plays knight c3. Now this is the initiating move of the Grand Prix attack. Valcu plays d6, which suggests that she wants to play a Najdorf or Dragon Sicilian variations. And Gdanski plays f4. Now this is the Grand Prix attack. The idea is to place two pawns on f4 and e4, follow up with the knight to f3. The bishop will go to c4 or to b5, depending on how black plays. Then d3, not d4, as in the open Sicilian, short castle, and then we'll transfer the queen to the king side and go for a direct attack on black's king. Very simple, very aggressive, and very dangerous if black is not prepared. The normal line to play here is to mix up g6, knight c6, and bishop g7. There's different move orders. Valcu plays g6, which is a correct move order. What she's doing is she's waiting for white to develop the bishop before developing the knight on c6. This way she sidesteps one variation, which is knight to c6, bishop to b5. Some players like to exchange off the knight and then carry on with the attack. However, Gdanski puts his bishop on c4, and you'll notice during the game that this bishop in some variations will be very important. Castle, d3, black is playing theoretical, queen to e1. Now, this plan is very dangerous, and it's so dangerous that many players with black prefer not to castle here and initiate the counterplay on the queen side, and there's different ways to do that. However, Valcu, no doubt in her preparation, decides to castle and allows white to play this very dangerous f5 move. Now basically what white pretends is to bring the queen to h4, take the bishop to h6, exchange off the bishop, and then deliver mate. For example, if black captures the pawn, by the way, opening up the bishop on c4, white doesn't recapture. He plays queen to h4, pawn takes pawn, and knight to d5. And now there's a direct threat of mate on h7, but also white is crashing in on f7 with 3 pieces, completely winning. If black plays knight to d4, for example, hitting the c2 pawn, we can probably just forget about that because queen to h4 has a double threat here. Pawn takes pawn, and again, bishop to h6, and the attack is tremendously strong, tremendously strong. So the best move here, although it's not very intuitive, and if you're not prepared you won't do it, is g takes f5, opening up your king side. And Valcu played g takes f5, which suggests to me that she was prepared for this game and she knew this position would appear on the board. But even so, it's happened to me many times. You prepare a variation, you know it well, but then at some point you have to do some calculations and you might make a mistake in your calculations. Just because you prepare a game before the game doesn't mean you'll remember all the lines when you get in the position. Queen to h4, pawn takes pawn. Now, knight to g5 isn't so strong because black can play h6 and f7 is protected. The bishop is not participating in the attack. So Gdanski plays pawn takes pawn, which is correct. Threatening, on the one hand, bishop to h6, and on the other hand, maybe knight to g5. And now black plays the correct move, knight to g6. So although Valcu has weakened the queen side, she is trying to exchange queens and convert her extra pawn, and also she has complete control of the e5 square. So this, according to theory, is good for black. It's okay for black. There is some compensation for the pawn, but if black plays correctly, there shouldn't be enough. Gdanski obviously doesn't exchange queens, and Valcu brings her other knight to the attack. Knight takes knight. Now, Valcu captured knight takes knight, which is the main move according to the engine, so she's still in theory. She recaptures and wins a tempo attacking the bishop. However, I noticed that the engine was contemplating bishop takes e5, so I pushed it forward. It's always good to prompt the engine to see what it's thinking, and I played bishop to h6, and I was surprised that the engine didn't play rook to e8, but instead preferred a6 with the idea of expanding and finishing development. And after bishop takes rook, queen takes, this position is actually quite good for black. Black has a pawn for the exchange, a very strong bishop on e5, dominating the dark squares and two very important diagonals. And after b5, bishop b7, queen g7, black is already slightly better. So this is a very interesting position for those of you who are improving, who want to understand a bit better in which positions can we give up the exchange for a pawn and still have a very playable positions. This would be one of those types of position. So this is very interesting. Valcu captured with the knight, and of course Gdanski played a very strong move here, bishop to h6, because the bishop can't be captured because of a queen to g4, and we can't prevent mate on g7. But of course, what happens if Valcu captures the bishop and now captures the bishop on c4? It's an extra piece, and I don't see any mate here because the knight can come back. And this is where Valcu messed up. What she should have done is, instead of capturing the bishop, bring some more pieces to the defense. Leave the knight on e5 and hide the king, and then defend with f6 or f5. And although this seems scary, I've checked it with the computer, and although white still has some attack, black should be able to defend this and still has an extra pawn. I'm sure Gdanski would still keep attacking here and maybe would have ended up winning, but objectively speaking, black is okay. But it's very tempting to capture this bishop if she thinks she can bring the knight back and save the mate. But Gdanski played rook to f3, threatening mate on g3. The knight drops back, check, and now rook to h3, threatening mate. And I suspect that Valcu arrived here in her calculations, noticed that the threat was queen to h7, but she probably thought, I'll just move my king away, my rook away, and when he captures here, my king will cross to e7 and I have an extra piece. That's what I think she thought. What's the problem? Gdanski doesn't capture on h7 yet and brings another piece to the attack. And now he has a winning attack because he's threatened to capture on h7 and then crash in on f7. No defense is possible. If black defends with the rook or with the queen, it's game over after queen takes g6 because of the pin on the f-file, and rook to h8 wins the game. So Valcu tried knight to e5 just to protect this pawn and hope that white will mistakenly play this variation, which is obviously bad. But of course Gdanski is a very strong grandmaster and quickly played queen to rook to g3, threatening mate, forces the knight back, and here instead of taking a draw with rook to h3, he crashes in with rook takes f7, king takes, check, and now if king to f8, rook takes g6 followed by mate on g8, unstoppable, and after king f6, which was the game line, check, check, and a lovely slow move king to f2 with unstoppable mate by g3. A very, very strong performance by Gdanski, even more so when you realize that Lavinia Valcu plus her trainer had prepared this g takes f5 and knight to e5. They had prepared perfectly the opening and achieved a better position. But chess is tough. Myself, in my game yesterday, I prepared the London opening with a piece and then a rook sacrifice. I had it all prepared, and the computer gives me a decisive advantage. But when we're at the game, variations are mixed in your head. You can't totally recall each of the variations. At the end of the day, we're not professionals, and I ended up messing up and I lost the game, although I had at some point a winning position and then a draw. But this is modern chess. You really need to have good preparation, but also you need to perform well at the board. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thumbs up, give me a comment below, and we'll see each other in the next video. And keep improving, because soon we might face each other on the boards, and then we'll see if you've been watching my videos and improving your game. Have fun.